I cannot be afraid of myself.
Yeah. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mindgasms. Gonna do really hardcore intellectual discussion again today, obviously. And we're talking about Fatman, which is one of my new favorite Christmas movies that I first saw a few years ago. Die Hard is the best one, of course, still. But obviously, Mel Gibson plays basically a badass killer gunfighter Santa Claus in this. And a rich kid basically steals access to his rich grandma's money and hires an assassin to go and kill Santa Claus because he gets a lump of coal for Christmas because he's been a very bad boy. And so an assassin gets sent after Santa Claus, but this is like a gritty, hardened, tough guy, badass Santa Claus who's having financial problems. So he reluctantly agrees to a deal with the U.S. military to get the elves to manufacture weapons for them because they're very good workers. And Santa is losing money due to the growing global lack of Christmas spirit. So yeah, I really like this movie because I liked how it turned a Christmas Santa Claus movie into an action gunfighting movie. Yeah, even though the big confrontation wasn't until the end, but I like it when Christmas movies turn the genre on the head like that, and I thought it'd be fun to talk about because we've talked about Die Hard as well. So,
Mhm.
what do you think about the movie? Oh, I didn't say, probably those of you who are watching already know this, but this is the holiday centrist, aka woke centrist, aka Dusty Cubes, aka Dustin Cubit, who I talk with all the time.
Yeah, so the Fat Man, I wouldn't call it a satire or a comedy movie.
No, yeah, it was a
There
serious
are,
movie. Yeah.
I would say it's serious for the most part, but I know how they portray the assassin can it often edges on the satirical and the comedic.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
I would
because
say.
the assassin's just personality is like unlike a normal human being, and the lengths he'll go to try to find Santa, because he has a personal grudge as well as a mission, um, to assassinate Santa for.
Oh, I forgot about the personal grudge.
Yeah, part of it is because he does have his own personal grudge against Santa.
What
But
was the
he kind
personal
of,
grudge? What was the reason behind the personal grudge again? He didn't get a toy that he wanted or something like that?
I think he got like, yeah, the toy that he got was something he didn't want. And I think it was like a toy airplane or something like that. So he was kind of upset about the toy that he received.
Kind of a pretty big overreaction.
Yeah. So, yeah, he agrees to do this mission. And if I'm not mistaken, doesn't he do like the naked Tai Chi thing in the beginning of the movie? Or am I thinking about a different
Are
movie
you thinking
altogether?
about Die Hard 2? I'm gonna look that up actually because I don't remember about that. Does
Maybe I'm wrong. It almost seems like they start
He
these
seems like
like,
the kind of guy that would do that anyway.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Maybe I'm wrong, but it almost seems like whenever they introduce these types of characters, they're the ones doing like naked Tai Chi in the beginning of the movie. But like I
Hmm.
said, I could be completely wrong about this, and I might be confusing this with Die Hard or the other movie
When I look
based
up,
off of Heart of Darkness.
oh yeah, for sure. When I look up, when I looked up that question, does the assassin and Fat Man do naked Tai Chi? It goes to a lot of different links, obviously, but um, it says like a sexuality guide, and it doesn't look like it includes that. But I mean, it wouldn't necessarily show him naked.
Yeah, I
I
know he does
think,
like martial. I think he does practice some type of martial arts, but he might not do it naked in the movie.
okay. Yeah, yeah, you're right though. Like he is different from the typical assassin character in that he's all neat and clean, and it almost seems like he has OCD mildly or something.
Hmm. Right, because we do see him on a couple of different missions, but yeah, he's definitely out there. There's something definitely wrong with the guy.
Yeah,
He almost seems to border on some type of antisocial disorder, perhaps.
yeah,
But
yeah.
we
It's
do spend
interesting.
a significant amount of time with this character,
Hmm.
and we also get a lot of time with Santa and how he lives a somewhat normal and Spartan lifestyle.
Yeah, very secluded, and yeah, Spartan would be an apt way of putting it.
Right. So he lives kind of like in I don't think they kind of explain exactly where he lives, but it has to be somewhere up north. It's definitely not the North Pole, so to speak, but he lives in a little house and he kind of lives a life that you would think somebody off the grid would live,
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically. And it makes
out in the
sense
middle of
too, because
nowhere.
it seems like he's doing things like perhaps not having a cell phone or an address, for example, to conceal his location because he's Santa Claus, obviously.
Mhm.
And it's interesting too that and we'll get into more into these aspects too. But it's interesting that the people from the U.S. military, for example, and the assassin just they all just know that Santa Claus is real, and so like the assassin knows that it's going to be a difficult job to take out Santa, and the US military know that he's a guy to go to for someone getting someone to manufacture weapons for the US military for very cheap and efficient labor.
Yeah, I think the reason they go to Santa is because they need a massive amount of manufacturing done and in a short amount of time because
Hmm.
his elves, who don't seem to sleep, I think they take 15
Yeah.
minute naps like every 20 hours
Yeah,
or something
I
like
forget what
that.
the exact number was, but yeah, something like they take a 20-minute nap every 8 hours and they only eat candy or and cookies and stuff. I think that's really interesting. And that's what keeps that. I remember this is in the Red Band trailer for it. They talk about how that keeps them young, barely sleeping and only eating junk food. And this US military guy is talking to the elves and he says, so what keeps Chris young? As in Chris Kringle, obviously, what keeps him young? Oh, it's the giving that keeps him young. And
Mhm.
in the trailer, they cut to him in like the middle of a gunfight with the assassin guy. So yeah, it's a really good trailer for this too.
Yeah, so in this movie, I don't think we actually see him deliver any gifts. There's
No, I
no
don't think yeah,
Santa.
we see him go out on his Christmas trip, and then we see Mrs. Claus, making sure he's got everything he needs, and then we see him come back. That's interesting too, that it's kind of a Christmas movie without all the stereotypical or a lot of the stereotypical aspects of a Christmas movie. um
Mhm.
and that it has, trying to bring alcohol with him for the trip, and his and his wife doesn't let him. And I think it's interesting too, because I didn't look into this that much, but apparently like woke people had a problem with this movie, which I find confusing because Mrs. Claus is black. So, I mean, that seems like a thing perhaps done deliberately to avoid wokeness or shit like that. And it's not a woke movie by any stretch of the imagination either. But I think that's weird. And then also, I like this world building aspect of when he goes out on his Christmas trip, and we find out when he gets back that he got shot by some kids, and it turns out that his wounds heal. So it's really interesting because it explains how Santa is kind of like basically immortal, which explains how he can have been alive for so long. And then they get more into that later with the final gun battle, of course.
Right. It kind of reminds me, like, the setting of this is, to me, very similar to Neil Gaiman's American Gods, which takes a look at gods and tries to thrust them in the real world and how
Oh
these gods
yeah,
would kind of
yeah.
react.
If you look at Santa Claus as a mythical figure in the same way, yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, so I could almost feel like he could exist in the same universe that Neil Gaiman created. Very similar, in my opinion. But as far as the woke people go, the only thing I could think about that they would have a problem is that it stars Mel Gibson,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
true because he's been obviously openly anti-Semitic before, which got him like canceled before people got canceled.
yeah, he
So
was
yeah,
like,
I guess that makes sense.
so I
But
don't know what were the woke people saying about this movie?
I didn't even look into it that much specifically. I don't know. Maybe because it's called Fatman or something. I don't really know.
Oh, you mean
Um,
like it's against fat people or something?
yeah, I guess. I mean, he is also the hero of the story, and he's like not a, well, he's
He's
not a
not like
jolly.
super
He's not a
fat
jolly
either. He's
Santa.
just
It reminds me of that line when he's talking to the assassin at the end. You think I got this job because I'm fat and jolly? That's what I
uh,
like. That's another aspect of this that I like about the movie is that it's gritty and realistic, which also makes me think of basically the version of Santa Claus in the Dresden Files, who is also a badass killer.
oh, like Chris Kringle slash, like he's also the head of a mercenary group.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
He has like multiple roles in the Dresden Files universe.
yeah.
Yeah. As far as like, we also get to see that Santa exhibits sexuality.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's the like uh basically a like a really obviously implied sex scene with him and Mrs. Claus. Like they don't show anything obviously, which is I thought was interesting because that's not wholesome Santa Claus at all, obviously.
Yeah, despite Santa Claus always being married, I feel like in every movie he's almost asexual.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like they never focus on his relationship with his wife, and they do actually focus quite a bit on the relationship. And she kind of is the, I would say, like his moral grounding,
Yeah,
because it almost
definitely.
feels like he wants to quit,
Yep.
and she's like trying to make him stay and keep on doing what he's doing
Mm-hmm.
because of um, how it helps the world. So she's kind of
Yeah.
like his moral grounding. Like he's really, um, it seems like he's really, I don't know what you want to call it, but maybe anxious about the um, his current situation. Like he doesn't
Yeah.
know what'll come. He's very, he thinks that everything's falling apart, and she's trying
Yeah.
to stay positive and keep him in a positive mood while he's
Yeah.
a bit more pessimistic about what's going on.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. He definitely gets disillusioned with everything, like facing financial ruin, which is or another interesting aspect and realistic aspect of the movie too. That Santa Claus is facing financial ruin and he's in desperate straits. So it asks like that's like the relates to the interesting social commentary aspect of this movie. Uh, if the only thing you could do to save Christmas would be to have Santa manufacture weapons for the U.S. military, would you do that? Do you think it's worth saving Christmas to do that?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a pretty
and
interesting question.
yeah, Mrs. Claus is great in this too because like you said, she's his kind of his moral center, and she provides hope for him. And then we find out at the end with the gunfight with the assassin too that she can totally hold her own, and she becomes pretty much just as much of a hero as Santa in the end, because she's the one who ends up killing the assassin.
Right. She's the one that takes him out because the assassin um, takes him out Santa Claus. He gets shot in the face, I think.
Yeah,
Santa Claus
he
does.
killed.
So
Well, that's when we at the end when we see even more into how he can heal wounds. He gets shot in the head and then he dies, but then he gets resurrected and comes back to life, which is really cool. And then when the assassin comes into their house after killing Santa Claus, she's hiding behind the door, and then she shoots him in the head with a shotgun.
right. Yeah. But they do have this assassin though. He comes and he raids Santa's compound all by himself,
Hmm.
which is pretty astonishing considering that it's being guarded by like the U.S. military.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking ballsy, and it's pretty amazing that how much he accomplished given that too.
Yeah, because he pretty much destroyed the workshop. Um, he killed a whole bunch of U.S. military members. I think by the end of it, like Santa's like the only armed person alive.
Hmm.
So he is like the last thing stopping this assassin. But I was thinking, wow, the assassin must have more of a motive than just to kill Santa. Because he went in there and he destroyed the entire workshop. He was taking out the military, and then he's still hunting for Santa this whole time. So I was like,
Yeah,
seems a little bit more than just a job to him.
yeah, he definitely goes crazy on that revenge streak of his.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, the grittiness of this is not something I had expected. Because when you first suggested this movie to me, I thought it was more going to be like a satire type of movie.
oh, okay.
You know, like one of those satires that you're supposed to laugh at, and you know, it had a ridiculous premise. I thought it was going to be something like
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought it was really cool that it's a serious and gritty movie and not a satire.
that. All right. So, the kid, we didn't really talk too much about this
Yeah,
kid.
yeah, let's talk about that whole aspect of the plot, the basically the assassination mission that the kid sends the assassin on.
So I know we're mentioning a kid, but this kid is not fucking innocent at all. He is
No.
a little bastard, man.
Yep.
It seems like he is living off of his grandma's, I don't know what you want to call it, like her little nest egg or trust fund or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But we could see at a young age, this kid is already like committing crimes.
Yeah.
One of such is he embezzles money from his grandmother.
Hmm.
He also didn't he kidnap one of his classmates because she won the science fair? Do you remember that?
Remember what, sorry?
That he kidnapped his classmate to make her renounce her blue ribbon from the science
Oh
fair.
yeah, he got the assassin to do that, right?
Well, he got the assassin to kidnap her, but I believe he was present when he told her that she had to say that she had cheated so that he would get first place in the science fair.
Right. Yeah, he's a fucking toxic little shit.
Yeah, I think he threatened a girl by saying that he was going to kill her family or something like
Yeah,
that.
like holy fuck, man. Yeah. Like he kind
So
of reminds me of Joffrey in Game of Thrones.
yeah, he's kind of very similar. A selfish little prick who will stop at nothing to get what he wants. And in this case, he hires an assassin, and the money probably came from like his grandma's like accounts or whatever that he had been embezzling. Oh man. But even the assassin kind of hates this kid too.
Yeah.
He reluctantly takes the job. Um, he tells the kid it's going to be hard, but behind the kid's back, he's always disparaging him, telling him like a
Yeah.
little bastard and
Yeah.
spoiled prick and whatnot. So their relationship isn't good at all either.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, the kid, because he should be on the naughty list, he gets put on Santa's naughty list. So he literally gets a lump of coal for Christmas from Santa. And so that's what inspires him to send this assassin after Santa Claus.
Yeah, so he got a literal lump of coal
Yeah.
um, for Christmas. And this is after Santa goes out and delivers presents. We don't see him deliver them. We just kind of get a scene where he's like tired and beat up. But when the kid checks, he got a lump of coal because, of course, he's a bad kid.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, how did it seem to you that his grandma was like either clueless or senile or stuff? Or I don't remember that exact detail in terms of how he gets all this money to hire an assassin all the time.
It looked like he was forging documents. Like he got into her study and he started forging some documents that would transfer money to
Right.
him or something like that.
Okay.
But as far as like the grandma, possible she might have been a little out of it. But I remember by the end, it seems like he got exposed, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think.
yeah, the kid got exposed eventually by the end of the movie. Because
Yeah.
there was a
There's that.
confrontation at the end of
Yeah.
the
Santa
movie.
Claus comes and confronts him. Oh yeah, that reminds me. He got shoot in the he got shot in the eye because he's regrowing it at that point.
Right, and then I totally thought that Santa was gonna kill him,
Yeah.
but he just gave him a warning, kind of like, "This is your last chance, kid."
Yeah.
Um,
And the kid dosed his glass of milk for him with fentanyl, and he drank it and thought, "Ooh, fentanyl, that's good," because we know he can heal wounds, so it would make sense that he wouldn't be able to get killed by fentanyl.
oh yeah, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah,
That the kid tried to kill the grandma. He was gonna
yeah.
kill the grandma. That's right. I completely forgot about that.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was gonna
Yeah,
murder his own grandmother with a fentanyl-laced glass of milk, and then Santa drinks that milk, and he's like, fentanyl." When he drank it. So this gives us kind of like another clue that, oh, okay. Because there is a couple scenes too that we didn't really mention where Santa goes to like a bar
Oh yeah,
and
those are interesting. Yeah,
yeah, he kind of frequents this local bar in his town. And this is kind of where we get the first glimpse that he has some type of power. Because there's this woman in town, I think the bartender,
yeah.
forgot what his relationship was to her, but he
It
kind of
seems like
knew about,
he's just kind of friends with her, maybe.
yeah, because yeah, he was trying to make sure that she didn't hook up with some guy because the guy was married and had kids, and he was trying to like point that out to her in some form of fashion. But he ended up um, pulling that guy aside and mentioning, "Hey, what about your wife, so and so?"
Yeah.
and he
So
kind of caught him.
he can know what's going on with people, like what relationship they have with their families and stuff like that. But it makes sense.
Mhm.
Like he has that naughty and nice list. He can see you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake.
Yeah, so he displays that he knows something about this guy that you wouldn't otherwise know without some supernatural knowledge.
Hmm.
So yeah, and then people seem to like him around town, but that's kind of like the first glimpse we get that he's more than what he seems.
Yeah, and I liked that also that he likes to go to the bar to drink milk.
Oh yeah, he orders milk at the bar. I completely forgot
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, because he's Santa. And that reminds me of another aspect of Mrs. Claus too. She's always baking cookies and making other baked goods for the elves and him, of course. And he's of course having too much, which is the aspect of him that makes him a fat Santa Claus. Even though he's also a gritty badass Santa Claus with discipline, and we see him doing like a punching bag workout at some point. And obviously, he's really good with guns.
Yeah, like I know that's called Fat Man, but he's not really that fat. He's not like a fat overweight guy that doesn't
Yeah, he's
exercise
like
or anything.
average. He's like average guy, fat guy, kind of.
Yeah, like dad bod fat.
Yeah. It kind of looks like maybe he just got fat over a short period of time or something like that for the role.
Oh, you think he gained weight for the role?
Maybe. I mean, he could have been that fat already. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be interesting because I wouldn't advise somebody at his age to get fat for a role.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
kind of a
seems
bad
like
idea in general.
hey, but some people do it.
Yeah,
Yeah. What was that other guy? Doesn't
Jared Leto. Oh, and Christian Bale. No,
yeah,
Christian
didn't he
Bale.
get fat
Oh yeah, yeah. He did get fat, I think,
when he
for
played Dick
playing Dick
Cheney?
Cheney in Vice. Oh man, we should do a movie chat about that sometime. That's such a fucking great movie. I love
I
that
haven't
movie.
seen it, but I
Oh,
think
it's so
that would
great.
be something cool to check out.
It's so great. It shows like how fucking evil uh, Dick Cheney and George W. Bush and all of those fucking people were in the early 2000s. Like that shit is. I mean, I know it's a partially fictionalized movie, but you know that everyone knows how the degree of truth to that kind of shit, and those guys were fucking monsters.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah.
So, uh, I don't remember how I got onto that subject.
The fat, you mean him getting fat for a role?
Oh, right, right. Yeah. And Christian Bale played Dick Cheney and got fat for it. And yeah, I think Jared Leto also, who's usually super skinny, he got fat for playing I think John Hinckley, I think, the guy who shot Lee Harvey Oswald in a movie, if I remember correctly.
I have not seen that movie,
Yeah, I haven't
but
either. I just remember that it came out years and years ago when I was working at this magical place called a movie store.
a magical place called a movie store.
Yeah, that
It's
was my
magical
first.
because what, they don't exist anymore? Is
Yeah,
that
because they
what
don't
you're
exist
saying?
anymore. Yeah,
Yeah, I remember movie stores when I was young.
yeah.
There's this place called Suncoast, I think that was called.
Oh, okay.
And I remember the movies being like super overpriced too. Like
Oh, okay.
like 20. I remember when DVDs were like 25 and 30 bucks.
Yeah, yeah,
It was so overpriced.
yeah.
But
It was great when you could rent movies. I mean, it is nice to have streaming
well, you could
services
still rent
online and
movies
not have to
like
go
tech.
anywhere. Yeah, and you can rent them online.
Yeah, I think but it was always a different type of vibe, going into the store, and then there were people there that worked the counter that are knowledgeable about movies,
Yeah,
and then you're always excited to see, okay, what's coming out now,
yeah.
what's
I
some
really
new
liked
releases.
I really liked working there, and we got 2 free movie rentals every day if we wanted them too. So I watched tons of movies when I was there.
Okay, so every day you take home like a movie or two, like at the
I
end of
wouldn't
your
do it ever.
shift.
I wouldn't do it every day, but I would do it every day when I'm actually going to watch it. So yeah,
Cool. Was this
yeah.
VHS or DVDs?
This was DVDs. Yeah, I remember
Okay.
there used to be a movie store across the street from our house when we were kids, when we were growing up, and we used to. That was when there were still VHSs, and we would go to the movie store and rent a VHS on for a toonie on Toonie Tuesday. I remember.
Toonie Tuesday?
Oh yeah, that's a Canadian. That's a Canadian method of payment. I forgot.
What does that mean? What is
It's a
Toonie
$2
Tuesday?
coin. It's a $2. I'm not. I don't think I have one in my wallet, but it's like a $2 coin that's silver on the inside and gold on the inside. I don't think it's literally silver and gold, but it's those colors.
How rare is a toonie?
Oh, they're pretty common.
So $2 coins are common?
Yeah, I'd say they're as common as other coins.
Okay, because they have $2 bills here in the US.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, we have
but
$1 and $2 coins instead of $1 and $2 bills.
okay, because $2 bills, we have $1 coins, but we do not have $2 coins.
That's
And
interesting.
$2 bills are pretty rare.
So you have $1 coins and bills?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Do
that.
you have $1 bills?
No, just coins for the $1 and $2.
So you do not have $1 bills. Wow.
No, or $2 bills.
Interesting. We
Yeah.
have, I think, up to $5 coins.
Oh, wow. I didn't know you had $5 coins too.
Yeah, there's 50-cent pieces. I'm trying to think, because I know there were $5 coins. I gotta look into that, but I don't think I've ever had one. Just the
Oh, okay.
bills. Because I think there's been some denomination of bills that have been retired.
Oh, okay.
Because I think
Yeah,
there
that
used to
tends to
be a
happen
$1,000
sometimes.
bill.
There was Canada abolished pennies a number of years ago.
So you have no pennies anymore?
Yeah. Well,
So how do you get change?
there's still like you can still get them somewhere sometimes, but they just round it up to the nearest 5 cents either way. Whether it's giving you whether you're paying for it or you're getting your change back. They just round it up to the nearest 5 cents.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Why did they get rid of pennies?
I don't know. I guess they don't
Hmm.
want to have such a small numerical value of money for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Well, what's the biggest denomination that you have for currency?
That's a good question. Um, I'm going to ask what is the largest bill in Canada? I wonder if it's going to think I'm talking about a law. Oh, no. Hmm.
Because in the US, we
Oh,
used to have $5,000 bills and like $10,000 bills.
okay. Oh, apparently we used to have $1,000 bills, but apparently as of January 1st, 2021, the $1, $2, $25, $500, and $1,000 bills from every Bank of Canada series are no longer legal tender. I didn't know
Oh,
there
they're not
was.
even legal tender anymore?
I didn't know that there used to be a $1, $2, or $25 bill, because we have $20 bills.
So if someone had a $25 bill, I wouldn't. You can't even use it anymore.
I guess, or
Oh
$1,
wow.
$2, or $500, or $1,000.
Because I know all of our discontinued bills are still legal tender, so you can still use them to pay for stuff if you had them.
Yeah, you should be able to do that. I don't know why they decided that. That's weird.
Yeah, because every single, all money that has been issued by the mint is considered legal tender, like no matter when it was issued.
Okay.
So you can still use like old denominations of money that no one uses.
Okay. Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I don't know why that's different. Now, how do we get off on that tangent?
we were talking about currency, but I forgot why. I
um, well, it was
think
something.
it's because you said Toonie Tuesday. I was like, Toonie, what's wrong
Oh
with a
yeah, yeah,
Toonie?
because I was talking about because I was talking about movie stores. So then when I was working, by the time I was working at a movie store, it was right after I graduated from high school. So that was 2008 or 2009.
Okay, so those were
So
like the
yeah,
twilight years of movie stores.
yeah. Even though no one knew it,
Yeah, because I think Netflix, um, because I remember Netflix
Net
started streaming like
yeah, Netflix was
around.
kind of like, I feel like it was just starting the streaming kind of around that period of time, because I didn't have
Mhm.
Netflix, but I would dog sit at someone's house who had Netflix, and it mostly just had old 90s movies and shit like that. It didn't have too much new
Mhm.
stuff yet. And I
Yeah,
don't
that's
think they
back when Netflix
produced
was
original
basic.
content yet either.
No, no. It was just because I remember when Netflix started, I would physically rent the DVDs from them, and every DVD that I rented from them, I basically copied. Like I didn't start Netflix until I had the ability to copy DVDs. Because to me, it wasn't worth it unless I could actually copy them. So
Oh,
every
okay.
single, yeah, every single DVD that I got from Netflix ended up being copied.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
Yeah, so I have like a big like case full of copied DVDs at home that I had
Oh,
from
that's
them
good.
when
Yeah,
I
I never
used
did
to.
that very much, but I have a tiny binder of those somewhere.
Yeah, so it's almost like well, now that I think about it, yeah, I have all these hard copies of movies, but at this point they've become like an inconvenience because you need to have the thing to play them, and then you got to hook that thing up to your TV.
Oh yeah. Oh,
And now,
for me it's not an inconvenience. Like I still watch Blu-rays, mostly just Blu-rays every once in a while, or a DVD if I'm looking for a movie and it's not available on any of my streaming platforms and I want to watch it on the bigger screen instead of on my laptop.
yeah, the thing
Then
about DVDs and Blu-rays is they still have things called special features, which you can
yeah,
only get on
yeah.
those platforms.
Like you can get those things separately sometimes. Like you can get a few of those for some of the shows on Netflix, but they're not really a regular thing on streaming platforms for sure. I think they should do
Hmm.
that because I always like to nerd out about those, especially on certain movies. Like that's one of the reasons. Those are a few of the main reasons that I have the Lord of the Rings trilogies on extended editions on Blu-rays, and the Matrix movies on Blu-rays for the special features and for the extended edition of the movies in the case of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and then often, I'll only buy Blu-rays based off of what they have in extended features and commentary tracks and all that, because it's not really feasible. Because this is one thing I find interesting, and they could have done this a long ass time ago, is that none of these streaming services seem to offer those special features. And it could be because they might have some type of compact with the movie industry that says you may not stream these special features. DVDs and Blu-rays will always have these solely, and
Oh,
you will never
okay.
get access to. I think it has something to do with making sure that hard copies are still a thing that will happen. Um, and that's interesting because I think in the games section that doesn't exist. So if you buy a hard copy of the game, it's no different than a digital copy of the game,
Oh,
like at
right.
all.
Yeah,
There's no
games usually don't
difference.
have special features, right?
Well, if they do, they're not like something you have to get. Like the special feature exists within the game itself.
Right.
Because when you stream a movie, you just press play and the movie streams. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
when you start a movie, it starts on like the intro screen where you get to pick play movie
Yeah.
or select scene. Like
Yeah.
that's only something you get on a DVD or Blu-ray.
Yeah.
When you stream, it's just bam, you're starting the movie. When it comes to video games, when you pop a game in, whether it's on disc or if it's a digital download, like the interface is identical. So it's going to have access to everything, whether you use a physical disc or you have acquired it via digital
Okay.
download.
Okay. Hmm.
And I think the game, like, it's nice to have physical copies of games. I always like to. There's definitely good reasons to as well, um, because there
Yeah,
are
I know you.
certain digital games you can't get anymore because license agreements have
Yeah. Yeah,
expired.
I know you told me you've had some games that have gotten deleted forever, even though you paid for them for that reason.
Yeah, so anything that has like a licensing agreement on, you're better off buying the physical copy.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
let's
I
say a
will
type
like.
of movie game or license game, those are gonna require you. Well, I wouldn't say require you. Yeah, you can download the digital version, but if they lose the license on that, they won't be able to sell it anymore, and
Right.
you won't be able to access it if you hadn't downloaded it previously. Because I have some games that are on my old Xbox that if I deleted them, I wouldn't have access to them anymore because they're no longer available in the digital store.
Oh, okay. Yeah, in terms of movies, I hardly ever buy them anymore due to how many you can access on streaming services, of course. And but obviously, like I've said before, I don't really game anymore. I probably like pretty much I would with friends I have who still game. If I hang out with them, it would be fun to do like zombie mode or in Call of Duty Black Ops or something like that and kill zombies, or
Mhm.
be that's a fun thing to do to chill with friends sometimes. But most of the time I just spend that time reading instead. But I used to
Yeah.
play a lot when I was a teenager.
Yeah, well, my daughter has just become the age where she can play like real video games. So on Fridays we play a Pokemon game I got for her for the Switch.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh
So we
yeah, you
do
were
that on
telling me about
Fridays.
that, and you were saying how different it is from the original Pokemon games.
Yeah, they have you like physically like throwing the Pokeballs out to try to capture Pokemon and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But it's definitely different from the original. Like the graphics look way better than because the original was on a Game Boy,
Right.
and then you have
I
this
remember
one.
those, man. I remember playing many, many hours on those ones.
Yeah, so and an interesting thing too is if I put the original in her hands, I'm pretty sure she would hate
Yeah, I bet.
it. And this one is easy enough for someone of her age to get into because she's really into the Pokemon TV show. She gets to see all of her favorite Pokemon and capture them. And so she's having a great time with this game. And on Fridays, it's like, okay, we've been playing this for 2 hours. Let's take a rest. Because I got to help her like with the gym battles
Oh, okay.
catching particularly hard Pokemon because it is a co-op game. So
Oh, okay.
um, if she's having a hard time on a particular Pokemon battle, I can jump in and help her
Oh,
out.
okay. And it's good too. It's good to set limits on video games too. I think that was one thing that my parents did with that my brother and I when we were kids that we fucking hated at the time, but as adults we're grateful that they set those limits because it taught us discipline in having setting limits for fun things like video games so you can or even not just even fun things, but anything that involves sitting in front of a screen like you can take a break and go play outside or go play a board game or something.
Hmm. Yeah, I didn't have those type of limits. I did play a lot of games when I was young. But I did go outside too. Like most of the time, if a friend showed up, it was just like, oh, let's go ride bikes or, the usual stuff. Because once a friend shows up and one of your parents are home, your parent is just going to kick you out of the house.
Yeah.
They're not going to, oh, can my friend come in and play this game? It's like, nope, you just go out and play.
Oh,
Get
okay.
out of here.
More like Stranger Things.
Yeah, basically. And I kind of, that was like the normal operation of children, like back in the 80s and 90s. You're just um, off to your own devices and you're raising yourself. I wouldn't say raising yourself, but you didn't have like a parent helicoptering over you over your entire existence.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
whereas today, like it seems like every kid has to be watched by some adult.
Oh yeah.
And it's
I
interesting
rem-
too because we allowed our daughter to go play off in the tennis court last weekend unsupervised.
and how old did you say she is?
She's 6.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the like that's probably frowned upon today, but like we've talked about in the coddling of the American mind, that sort of thing is probably good. I mean, I remember too when my brother and I were kids, when we first moved to our house, we're near a big major street with a big major crossing and crosswalk and walk and don't walk sign and that sort of thing. So they
Mhm.
taught us how to cross that big street properly when we were like maybe 7 and 5 years old or so.
Well, when I was probably second or third grade, my mom would send me to the liquor store to buy her cigarettes.
I remember you told me that before. Yeah. Man.
It was so illegal,
Yeah.
but it was it's back in the day in the 80s, like nobody gave a crap.
Yeah.
And I can go to the liquor store, which was like a block and a half away. It required me to cross like a busy, like 4 light intersection. And that was fine at that day and age to
Right.
be autonomous in that way. And I woke up one day, I was like, where's my daughter? And my wife was like, she's not here. I was like, hmm. And then like an alarm went off on our Alexa. I was like, check up on the like it said, oh, you have to check it. She set an alarm every 30 minutes to go check up on her daughter. Like,
Oh,
oh, that's where she is. So I went out and just took a look because the tennis court's like I can't see the tennis court from my apartment. It's off to the side to where like the mailboxes are. So I'd have to go out, walk about 100 feet, and then look over into the court and see if she was still there.
oh, so that's really close.
Yeah, it's not too far, but
Okay.
it's not within view of my apartment. So I'd have to like go out, walk 100 feet, and then look into the court and see if she was still there with the other kids.
Oh, okay.
Because there were also some other kids there that were unsupervised, but
Okay.
the other kids I think live right next to the tennis court,
Okay.
so their parents could just look out the window and see that they're okay.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we
Hmm.
gave her the opportunity to play on her own with the other kids. as a 6-year-old, but it's still within the apartment complex, so she's not like leaving the complex. It's a tennis court that's inside of our complex where the kids like to play at.
Okay.
But I don't know. It's just weird that kids aren't as autonomous as they used to be.
Yeah. Well, it's like safetyism, as Jonathan Haidt talked about, and helicopter parenting. Um, yeah, seems to be that sort of thing, and social media has something to do with it too.
One thing I did
Hmm.
notice that in my apartments, all the kids that seem to be like fourth grade and up seem to be autonomous because I don't see their parents around. So it's usually like the younger kids, like third grade and below, that there's like some type of parent out watching what they're doing. Um, and I get that. Like, what's third grade? That's like 8 years old or 9 years old
Okay.
ish.
Yeah.
So at 10, they can probably take care of themselves.
Yeah.
But I think in the book, there's a book that Jonathan Haidt references. And I think in that book, it's called Free Range Kids.
Oh,
The
right. I think I
mom,
read that one because I think you put that in our audiobook folder at one point.
I did. And her son, I guess, took the subway like in New York at the age of 8 or something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the second grade or something, second or third grade.
Yeah.
But just to think about it, at third grade, um, I wasn't taking like the subway or anything, but I was off out and about, like with a bicycle riding around town,
Oh, okay.
So as long as I came home for lunch and dinner, everything was fine.
Yeah. Sounds, I
But
mean, it sounds better in a lot of ways for kids to be somewhat self-sufficient in that way.
yeah, and
Um,
as a parent, it would kind of suck if you have to keep your eye on your kid like 24/7
yeah. Yeah.
when they have some ability to be self-sufficient.
Yep. That's for sure. Anyway, let's get back to talking
Yeah,
about
that
the
was a
movie. We went on a
tangent, man.
huge tangent there. Um,
Yeah, that was a tangent.
so let's talk about this kind of side plot aspect of the movie, which involves Santa Claus reluctantly agreeing to have his elves manufacture weapons for the U.S. military to avoid his dire financial straits due to the increasing global reduction of Christmas spirit.
Yeah, there's definitely, would you call this a capitalist critique?
Um, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I like it. I like the fact that it seems to me to be kind of like an anti-military critique in that
Mm.
way. Um, but I don't know. What makes you think it's a capitalism critique?
Um, well, that he has to keep himself afloat by getting paid by the government to
Oh, okay.
manufacture
Yeah.
weapons.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. The only way he can avoid financial ruin is by doing that. Yeah, that's a good point.
Because I guess if it were not a capitalist society, he would have received some type of public funding to run his operation. Because it's interesting because if Santa Claus was real and Santa Claus was an American, I would think that the government would be funding Santa Claus in some form or fashion, like as a public
Yeah,
good.
that would make sense.
That's what you would think if he was a real entity. He'd almost be like a national park or something like that.
Yeah,
that is a public good for everybody. But he's not treated like that in this movie. He's treated
yeah,
more as like a bargaining chip. Hey, we know you need to make your quota next year, and you can't do
yeah,
it without this contract. So let's take advantage of Santa here.
yeah,
So it's like I don't know if it's a capitalist critique, but it's definitely a critique of manipulation by the government and
yeah,
kind of like you either do this for us or you won't be able to make your quota next year.
yeah. Which means there won't be Christmas.
Basically,
But I like
there
it.
will not be Christmas.
I like the fact that that's the way they look at it, though. You won't be able to meet your quota, but the other part is just implied. So that's why I
Right.
think it's really interesting that Santa has to have his elves manufacture weapons for the U.S. military to save Christmas.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I'm curious what you think about these world building aspects about Santa Claus himself, like how he can heal from wounds and like even to the point to of being able to resurrect himself after he dies. I thought that was one of the most interesting aspects of the movie. What did you think about all of that?
Well, it's interesting how they squared that and they made like Santa Claus's health kind of a reality that we have to face because that's not. It almost feels like in other movies um, that depict Santa, he's pretty much invulnerable. Like he has magic that would even avoid any type of conflict. Like, say if for some reason, I'm thinking in another movie because I've watched like dozens of movies about Santa, and it
Oh
seems
yeah,
like
there are a lot.
one of the ones I watched recently, Santa was played by Kurt Russell, and he went to
Oh, I
jail and
forget
stuff.
what's that one called? I think I've heard of it but haven't seen it.
You know what? I don't remember what it was called, but it was released like 2 years ago.
Yeah, pretty recent, right? I think I
Yeah,
know the one you're talking about.
yeah, and this one, it's like a modern take on Santa, but it's not like a gritty take on Santa. So Santa, I think even goes to jail in this
Oh
one.
wow.
Let me see if I can find the name of the movie. Kurt Russell, and I think Goldie Hawn plays Mrs. Claus,
Hmm.
and Goldie Hawn is Kurt Russell's wife.
Okay.
Okay, it's called the Christmas Chronicles, and there were two parts. So there's Christmas Chronicles 1 and 2, and it's actually a Netflix production.
Oh, okay. That's where I saw it. I'm sure I saw it scrolling through Netflix at some point.
Yeah, so Christmas Chronicles 1. Oh, the one up to 3 now? Oh, they're actually thinking of making a part 3.
Oh, okay. Oh, you know what? Sequels reminds me. Um, John Wick 4 is supposed to come out this year.
I haven't even seen part 3 yet, man.
Oh, okay. Man, we should do more movie chats on those movies since the fourth one's going to come out this year. Maybe we should talk about John Wick 2 for one of our next movie chats with Chris after Inception.
Because I know we talked about one of the John Wicks, and I
The first
remember
one.
I pointed, yeah, my favorite scene was when they killed like one of the rogue assassins. When the guy that plays Odin like talks to one of the assassins, and then like four dudes in suits just come out and shoot the assassin, and then they kind of just turn and walk away. It's like this completely
Oh yeah.
choreographed scene.
Yeah. Yeah, that was super badass.
That was like my favorite scene in the movie. It's like, yeah, that's how you do it.
Man, I don't even know what my favorite part was. Just all of the awesome epic battle sequences. Like when he's in that Russian nightclub. That's one of the best, for example.
Oh, there's just so much. It's just there's just so much action in the John
And
Wick movie.
basically, with each one, John Wick 2 and then John Wick 3 also, there's a higher body count and more action every time.
Yeah, because I have I seen three? I don't think I've seen three.
Okay.
I think I've only seen the first two because I think I've seen the one where he finally like fights that Russian gangster, and then that Russian gangster. It's kind of like to me an anticlimax because the Russian gangster isn't actually good at hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah, he's really unmatched there for sure.
Yeah, at all. And then the next part about it is him going on the run and all like the assassins want to kill him, right?
Yeah, every assassin in the city is going after him.
Yeah. And
Is
I
that
don't
the
even
one?
know what part three is about.
Is that the you haven't seen part 3, right? So I get so many of these parts of these movies mixed up because it's like at a certain point it's okay, how can we how many different more different ways can we think of to make John Wick get headshots and kill people in other ways too? Um but
Well, it's
there's
jujitsu with guns, basically.
yeah, it is. It's totally gun fu. Jujitsu, shoot in the face twice. Jujitsu, shoot in the
Gun
face twice.
gunjutsu.
Yeah. Um,
That's
but so is it the second one that starts with the scene with this really super tall guy coming after him in a library and then he beats him to death with a super heavy book?
I don't remember that part. The only thing I remember about part two is that it's like in France or some shit like that. And
Okay.
then one of the
Maybe I'm thinking of
scenes,
part 3.
yeah, and I remember in one scene he goes to like, I don't remember if he kills this lady in the pool or the lady commits suicide like in the pool or something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the second one. Yeah, he has to fulfill an oath because this guy gives him a coin, but he refuses to do it, but then reluctantly does it, and then he has every assassin sent after him.
Yeah, so yeah, I have not seen three yet. That's the last one I saw.
Okay. Yeah, we should talk about those soon. Um, now how now how did I get on to talking about John Wick? Yeah.
I don't know, maybe because there's action, I guess, in this movie. Most of the
Yeah.
action, I
We were
think, in the movie is at the end of the movie.
yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we were talking about you were I forget how exactly, but you were talking about that guy who plays you were talking about your favorite scene in John Wick with that guy who plays Odin doing that assassination. That's interesting that you
Um,
mentioned that too, because you also mentioned how um, the Santa Claus in Fatman reminds you of the American gods somewhat, because if you, like we were saying earlier, if he was a mythical character, it could be an approach. You would see it being approached in the same sort of gritty and realistic way.
yeah, because American Gods is about showing how gods would live in our current environment, and then kind of a gritty and realistic take on them in general.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Um,
So I think we were talking about that aspect of the elves manufacturing weapons for the U.S. military.
oh yeah. I think we were talking about like the critique of what is it a critique of? It could be
Yeah.
either a critique of the military industrial complex. There's definitely a critique of that.
Hmm.
It could be a critique of Santa struggling to survive in a capitalist society. I think it's could be a critique of that as well.
Yep.
Um, but I think that's kind of like the main gist. Hey, there's this military industrial complex that Santa becomes intertwined with. And then also that why is it that Santa can't be given a little help to do, um, the spread the cheer that he does around the world. And I think also it may not be a critique, but it's just trying to say, hey, how would Santa exist in our current society, and how would he
Yeah.
function, and how would he get the monetary funds required to do what he does? You
Exactly.
know,
Yeah.
Because I think, what were some of the other ways that he got funds? I kind of
Well,
forgot.
when he was trying to find other ways to get paid other than working for the military, he made phone calls to a bunch of people, and if I remember correctly, it wasn't really clear to me what sort of jobs specifically it was that he was going to do. But I just assumed that it was, he was
Toy
he
manufacturers or something?
yeah,
Or
like talking with some people who were manufacturers of something who would get his help to get the elves to manufacture them something for them instead of working in a factory because they're even more efficient than a factory or some such thing.
so it's almost like some of the major toy companies ran on it too.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting
If
movie,
you want to
that's for
talk
sure.
about that as like more of a capitalist critique, um, you could talk about that in terms of, Marx, for example, talked about how industrialization would increase the automation process and kind of screw like the lower class workers to an extent. And you could see that applying to Santa Claus in this movie.
Well, I'm not even sure what Santa does with his funds, because I don't remember the elves talking about getting paid or anything like that.
Yeah, it like I wonder if he doesn't get paid for delivering the presents on Christmas, and then he does those other jobs to be able to financially support himself.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a little vague on the details about like how the accounting happens for his organization. As
Yeah,
I guess you still have to procure manufacturing materials and things for these toys and things like that. So maybe there are some other logistics that we're kind of overlooking because it's not like these goods just kind of pop out of nowhere. He has to get raw materials too.
yeah, that's a good point.
And it is not clear who's paying for these things either.
Yeah, that's true. Well, like maybe he has to get those other jobs to be able to pay for those sorts of things to be able to get the elves to make the toys.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. But yeah, it's an interesting, gritty take on what would be Santa's job
Yeah.
had he existed in the real world. What would he do? How would he operate? It's an interesting take for sure. And the elves are definitely interesting. And elves, yes, they're little people as well in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. I
Well, that's
think
funny, and they're actually because there is a part where we get to see the magic of the elves at least,
Mhm.
where the assassin confronts an elf,
Yeah.
and I believe the elf somehow gets a hold of the assassin's gun and like immediately disassembles
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
it. Yeah, so
Yeah, that makes
uh,
sense because they're so skilled with their hands and can build toys so quickly. That would make sense.
yeah,
And
like he,
especially if
they,
they're going to, especially if they're
oh, it was a
manufacturing
bomb. It
in
was
the
a bomb.
military.
That's what
Oh,
happened.
okay. Oh, so it was
The
something it
elf
was
found the
manufacturing
bomb.
anyway.
Yeah, the elf found the bomb and was like, "Hey, what's this?" And then the elf just like quickly disassembled the bomb like in
Yeah,
two
that was cool.
seconds.
Yeah, I forgot about that. But yeah, that was the cool part.
And that's when
Yeah,
the assassin saw the elves as threats that could just like dismantle the bombs that he's planting all over the
exactly.
workshop.
Yeah. So that's actually a good segue into I wanted to talk about the final confrontation between the assassin and Santa. So basically where we're at. He raided the complex with the elves factory and Santa Claus's house and that sort of stuff.
Well, Santa doesn't find out what's happening till everything's said and done.
Yeah. So when when the assassin first attacks the factory, one of the elves calls Santa and tells him what's going on, and then he basically gets all armed up, gets his weapons from his chest of guns under the bed, and Mrs. Claus helps him load his guns. And we're about to see the most badassery in all of the movie.
Yeah, and I think the guns that Santa builds are like not modern.
Yeah, I think he had a revolver and a sawed-off shotgun, if I remember.
Yeah, he has rudimentary weapons, and then the assassin is using like an assault rifle and more modern weapons.
And grenades.
Right, and grenades also. And they have a gunfight, and it starts at quite of a distance. So Santa's just emerging from his house, and they start shooting at each other from farther away.
Yeah, and they're ducking behind little brick walls and old dilapidated cars in the snow and stuff. It's a really awesome battle sequence.
Yeah, and I think Santa does take a hit during this firefight.
Yeah, I forget where he gets shot, but he gets shot somewhere.
And I think it's like in the shoulder or something.
Yeah.
And he sees that this back and forth shooting isn't really getting anywhere, so he tries to get in really close. And is that where he gets? That's where he gets killed, right?
I think so. They're on the opposite sides of this brick wall, basically, and I forget the exact details, but there's a final confrontation where I think he shoots the guy. Does he shoot the guy and injure him before he kills him?
Yeah, I think he tries to monologue.
Okay. Yeah, I think
Just,
so.
like,
Yeah, I
shoots
think
him
he
in the head.
injures him. He injures Santa, injures the assassin, but then the assassin shoots Santa in the eye and kills him. So that was that was a shocking part of the ending at first, because you think, oh well, there's no way that he's gonna fucking kill Santa, but he does, and then
Well, actually, you know what? It's not Santa doesn't injure him. It's Santa's wife that injures him.
Oh, okay, so Santa doesn't injure him before he gets killed. Okay.
No, because after he kills Santa, Miss Claus, we see her outside the house with a rifle,
Okay.
and she shoots.
Oh, right, yeah,
The
she shoots.
assassin.
Right, yeah, she shoots him right after he kills Santa Claus, and then he comes after her as she goes back into the house. He enters through the door, and she's hiding behind it, pushes it open, and then shoots him in the head with her shotgun, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah. So she lures him into the house, and she takes him out. She tricks him too. I think she makes him believe that she's hiding in a closet,
Right, yeah.
but she wasn't. It was just like a trick. And after he opens the closet, she shoots him from a different
Yeah,
location.
exactly, yeah, misdirection. Yeah, so that was that was surprising when Santa got killed, because I definitely didn't expect that.
Yeah,
But then,
I thought he was dead like forever.
yeah,
Like, holy
I thought
crap, he
too. I'm
killed
like,
Santa
holy
Claus.
shit, you're gonna have this action movie with Santa in which Santa Claus dies at the end? That's fucking unbelievably ballsy. But then it turns out that his healing powers literally extend to having the power to resurrect him after he dies, and it brings him back to life. And we see Mrs. Claus coming to him after she kills the assassin, and then he's slowly coming back to life already, and the elves are helping him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We definitely get to see that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And then of course at the end we have the part where Santa goes and confronts that kid who sent the assassin after him, and he drinks the fentanyl milk and he gives him a warning.
Yeah. So at the end, um, Santa confronts the kid who hires the assassin,
Right.
basically scaring him straight. Because I know Santa pulls out his gun
Yep.
and says that he better not have to come up there again. This next time he does, the kid is going to be dead.
He better not be naughty or he'll be dead.
Yeah. And yeah, it ends with Santa leaving the kid's house, I believe,
Yep.
with that message for the kid.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does. Yeah.
It's just
I've
basically saying, okay, Santa's not ruthless. He has a
yeah.
heart.
Yeah. He is very dangerous, but he has a heart, as you said.
Right.
Yeah. So
But he's
yeah, I
only
really
dangerous if you provoke him, you know. It's not like
yeah. Yeah.
Santa was going out killing people.
Oh
Um,
yeah, for sure. But like if you
he,
send an assassin after him, he's gonna kill the fucking assassin. And he's gonna go after the person who sent the assassin after him. But you're right in that he didn't kill the kid for sending an assassin after him.
right. I'm trying to kill him.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I thought this movie was really good. I really like it actually. I'd give it like 4 out of 5 stars. What rating would you give it?
I think I'd give it similar. It was really entertaining. Totally not what I was expecting from at all. It's funny because it does have a B movie feel to it, and that feel mostly comes from, to me, the assassin's performance.
Yeah.
It seems super cheesy and B movie like. I'm not saying that it's a bad performance, but it fits the movie well.
Hmm.
It just feels like a movie from 20 years ago. Like by the way that the assassin operates.
Yeah, I like
It's,
that.
but yeah, I would definitely recommend this to people. Anyone that wants to see a fresh take on Santa Claus.
I've been
That's
recommending
it.
it to people since I first watched it, and everyone thinks it sounds totally ridiculous.
Well, Santa Claus as a concept is totally ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a really
So
unique take on it.
yeah, I don't know. It's not like a horror movie or anything like that. Um, involving Santa, because there are those as well. It's just kind of trying to take a realistic take on what would Santa be like in the modern real world, and
Yeah.
what would happen if you tried to send an assassin after him.
Yeah, it's really interesting, man. That reminds me, you mentioned the horror movies. Did you know that there's a slasher horror Winnie the Pooh movie?
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
there is. It's like it's not actually Winnie the Pooh, but it's about a serial killer, I think, who goes around killing people in a Winnie the Pooh mask.
Here's a movie I recommend to you, and I don't even know, I can't remember what it's called, but Nicolas Cage is in it.
Oh, he's
He
usually good.
he is one of the main characters. He does not say a word during the whole movie.
Holy shit, wow.
And it's a horror movie based off of, I think it's based off of Five Nights at Freddy, but it's not like actually that IP.
Okay.
Do you know what Five Nights at Freddy is?
No.
It's like a horror take on like a Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh, okay.
Like if you do a Google search of Nicolas Cage and Chuck E. Cheese, you'll probably find the name of the movie. Um,
Okay.
but he's it's definitely a B movie, like for damn sure.
Oh, okay. Oh, he's speaking of Nicolas Cage, you know Jared from Wisecrack who I talked with a few times?
Uh,
I watched this movie that he recommended to me called with Nicolas Cage in it called Vampire's Kiss, and
Uh-huh.
it's about basically Nicolas Cage who plays this angry businessman who treats his secretary like shit, and he's in the habit of going to bars and hooking up with random women, and then basically one day he kind of just goes crazy and kind of pretty pretty clearly seems to have hallucinated getting bitten by a woman who turns out to be a vampire, and then he starts going around. He puts fake plastic fangs in his mouth, and he pretends to be a vampire and avoid the daylight and stuff. And
What?
yeah, and it has a really weird ending too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's worth watching, I would say. It's called Vampire's Kiss.
Okay. Well,
So
damn,
you
I wish
said
I could look.
Nicolas Cage, Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, if you search Nicolas Cage and Chuck E. Cheese or Nicolas Cage and Five Nights at Freddy's,
Is
you
it
might find
Willy's
that.
Wonderland?
Yes, that's the name of
Okay.
it.
Okay, here's the IMDb page. Let me see.
Yes. He doesn't speak a single word in this movie,
Okay.
but he's like one of the main characters.
Interesting.
That's such a silly movie, too.
Oh, I don't need to see reviews. I don't know why I clicked on that. And no, I don't care about the Independent Film Spirit Awards. Where did you watch this?
One of my neighbors gave me the Blu-ray, like let me
Okay.
borrow a Blu-ray.
He's been in
So I
a
saw it on
lot of
Blu-ray.
lower budget B movies lately that I haven't seen.
Yeah, I happened to come
Oh,
across
you know
that
what?
one.
I think I can actually watch this on Amazon Prime maybe. I think I might have seen it on there, but I haven't
Oh,
watched it.
really?
Yeah, because I think
Lily's
I've read this.
Wonderland.
I think I seem to remember reading this description before. A quiet drifter is tricked into a janitorial job at the now condemned Willy's Wonderland. The mundane tasks suddenly become an all-out fight for survival against wave after wave of demonic animatronics. Fists fly, kicks land, titans clash, and only one side will make it out. Oh, that sounds awesome, actually. I want to watch that.
Yeah, it's like totally a B horror movie.
Okay.
It's a B horror movie starring Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And Nicolas
Yeah,
Cage doesn't utter like a single line in the movie.
that's fascinating, man. Wow.
Yeah, if you'll watch it, you'll see it. It was like, wow, Nicolas Cage did this movie, and he didn't have any lines.
That's pretty cool, man. Yeah, I should definitely watch that.
Yeah, and maybe we could possibly talk about it if you do watch it, if you think
Yeah,
it's
yeah, for sure, man.
intriguing
Yeah,
enough.
yeah, yeah, definitely. All right. Well, I think we pretty much talked about the whole movie and went on a bunch of tangents there. Um, so yeah. Anyway, thanks for talking with me, man. This was fun as always. I thought this was a really cool and like a really cool movie that's a ridiculous concept. So I thought you would like it just as much as I did, and it sounds like you did. So
Mhm.
I'm glad that you did. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Check out my last chat with Chris yesterday, a political one about how Jimmy Dore has this conspiratorial belief that the reason the so-called journalist James O'Keefe was fired from Project Veritas is that Project Veritas has been corrupted by Pfizer. So Chris and I actually kind of had a little bit of a detailed and respectful debate about that. So that was really fun. And yeah, check out also. So in next week on my channel, we were going to talk about Dark Tower Book 3, right? Wastelands.
Well, I'm waiting for my library to drop it on me.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, if you can't get it before then, I'm going to try to get it read before then, but if you can't get it before then, then we can do one of our backup ideas. We can either talk about the Quran, or we can talk about Red Rising 2.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of Red Rising 2 right now because I'm waiting for this. The Wastelands is what it's called. I have it on a wait list at 2 different libraries. I'm just waiting for one of them to be available.
Okay.
But as I'm waiting for that, I'm actually listening to Golden Sun.
Which one?
Golden Sun, the second Red
Oh,
Rising
Red
book.
Rising 2.
Mhm.
Right. Sweet.
I
So,
know for
yeah.
sure that one would be ready for sure by next week, but hopefully I can get the Wasteland, which is Dark Tower 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm waiting on my library for Dark Tower 3 for the audiobook.
Okay. So, do you want to talk about ideally Dark Tower 3 and Golden Sun if you can't get it read before then?
Yeah,
Okay.
that'll be the best course of action.
Sweet. Sounds good. And we're going to we're talking about we're talking about Ruins of Gorland, right? That's what we're talking about on your channel tomorrow, the first book in the Ranger's Apprentice fantasy series. Would you say it's kind of YA or just like wholesome fantasy or something like that?
Um, I don't know. I enjoyed it, and I'm not like a kid. Um, but yeah, I guess it would be considered YA because it's not gritty. It's not like profanity laden, but I think it's really smart about the way it handles ranger as a profession.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, so we'll talk about that tomorrow on your channel. So people should check that out. Who any of you who are fantasy fans who check out our chats about fantasy books on both or either of our channels, and anyone
mhm.
else, of course, who check that out tomorrow. And yeah, so everyone should, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, click that like button on this video, share it everywhere, share all the awesomeness of our conversation about this amazing and life-changing video, and click that bell to be notified when I come out with new videos. And also check out my Patreon page. The link is in the description as always. And like I always say, I love you all. Keep being the tiny beam of light that shines through the almost impenetrable darkness of the universe. And most importantly, always remember this: the funk cures all, and groove is in the heart. And watch Fatman. It's an awesome movie. And check out it and read Ruins of Gorlan and chat or watch Dusty and I chat about that tomorrow too. And come and watch us discuss either what's it called? Oh, Wastelands Dark Tower Book 3 or Red Rising 2 Golden Sun next weekend as well. All right.
Mhm.
Anything else you want to say it before we end it there, Dusty?
Yeah, just toodaloo dudes and dudettes.
All right. Thanks again, everyone. And adios until next time.
Alrighty.